the birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution. From Cowork 591 Studios in beautiful downtown Jesup, we are the Bohemian Reformation, and this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network with producer Blake Tempus, co-host Dale Rueber. I am Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for July 29th, 2024. Don't say, where did the summer go to teachers?
Yeah, so a happy group. They already have planned. The first day of school is August 23rd, and all the old retired teachers in the area are meeting for dinner that day.
There you go.
They have a happy time. So
I always go do something on that day.
Yeah, it's a Friday. A lot of schools are starting on Friday and having a short day. That merely makes it goes against my sensibility. I like to start on Monday and start at 1 and go to but several of them I know are starting on Friday and then having the weekend off, and so I don't know. I always thought you should start the Tuesday after Labor Day and quit the Friday before Memorial Day, and whatever you get in, you get in. That's some years more, some years less, but this going in August is crazy, I think.
I think so too. We talk about Joe Biden tonight dropping out of the election and his vice president getting the money. We talk about the conundrum of Bill Leach and the College Football Hall of Fame. We discuss the Trump shooting. Dale has been gone, so we haven't had a chance to talk about that. We talk about the rules at the Jesup Splash Pad.
Oh, they have rules?
There are rules.
Okay.
Yes.
I've not been there splashing. Have you ever splashed in the splash?
I haven't. I haven't splashed.
They all look a little young to me.
I struggle with anxiety, and so when I used to go to the pool, I used to hate it when people would splash.
Yeah.
It just drove me crazy.
My 9-year-old grandson came from Michigan to be in the Jayhawk basketball camp.
Yeah.
And the one, he's but a long ways away from home and everything. But he said, do they play shirts and skins here? Do I have to take my shirt off? I said, well, yeah, I'm sure that's the way they do it. He didn't want to take his shirt off. I said, well, you'll have to discuss that with there. But he was on the shirts team every time, so he never had to really get into it. But he did not want to take his shirt off. And I told him, I've seen you run around naked when you were a kid, just running out of the bathtub, and now you tell me you won't take out your shirt. He's got a good-looking build, He's not. Anyway, so I thought that was I had not thought of that being a problem with him at all. So it's just kids are really interesting.
They are. We talk about the Jesup News. We talk about this past weekend in Littleton Free Watermelon Day. And Dale has many updates for us, as well as after our discussion about billionaires last time he was here, he has some things about a billionaire today.
You can stop worrying about them. They're doing all right.
They're doing all right. I won't lay awake at night then. The Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. It will be offering community programming starting in Jesup, Iowa, before expanding to neighboring communities. The long-range vision is to house a rural artist residency program for professional and emerging artists in all areas of the arts and the humanities. Artists will be offered accommodations and studio space in exchange for a contribution of labor and maintenance of the buildings and ground. There's a perfect place right on the corner as you turn to go to Littleton. 41 acres, a house, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, an outdoor shed. I'm just waiting on Blake's money of $950,000.
Cheap at the price.
Yep.
40 acres?
41 acres.
And a house. Actually, that is fairly inexpensive compared to some you see.
It's bottomland, though. It's bottomland, so it's right on the river.
Yeah.
But
so free fishing?
I'm sure it is.
Free flood water every spring?
Got a pond out back.
Yeah.
Got a herd of mosquitoes goes with it if you want.
They're really bad this year, I guess.
They have been bad, although they've gotten better here lately. Yeah. Dale, let's talk about Biden dropping out.
Okay.
What are your thoughts there?
Well, we had discussed this a couple weeks ago, but I thought it was good. I think it was good for him personally. He may not believe that in his head, but I think if you watch the man and listen to the man, it had to have been hard for him. And so I think he did the right thing, and I think he did it in time. It could have been done earlier, but he did it in time. And the Democrats have really seemed to, according to their fundraising reports and all this other thing, gathered around the vice president, and so they're pretty much ready to go. If they had to have a freewheeling convention, well, that might be something else too. But so anyway, I thought it was good for him. Yeah, one of those things where one night one of my kids called me and said they wanted to stay over at so and so's house and everything, and it was like 12 o'clock at night. I got the feeling they really want me to say no, just the feeling.
Right.
And so I said no, and the kid, no, okay, I'll be home in 10 minutes. And I really think that Biden may have been wanting someone to point him to the door in a nice way and say, "Take a look at this. You need to go." But I have no evidence for that. But
excuse me.
No, I'm sorry.
And those people, I mean, minor representatives and minor senators came out early and told him to get out. But Schumer and Nancy Pelosi went to him late last week.
Yeah.
And told him or advised him to get out.
Sure.
And gave him time, actually. And when he didn't get out, they went to the press and opened.
Yeah, they know how to do that kind of thing. Yeah, and they saw which way the wind was blowing. And when the younger people in the Democratic Party start talking, well, then the leaders, if I'm going to lead this train, I get out in front.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did, and so. That's why they're the leaders, I guess.
Well, I'm not convinced that, Biden wasn't pretty bright here as well, or his advisors. The Republicans were coming off their convention high. It was a big week. Everybody was saying that of the 3 conventions that Trump ran, that this was the best one. And Biden took a bite right out of it as soon as it was done.
Yeah, the whole news story shifted.
Yeah.
And so actually, if you planned it that way, that was good strategy.
Yeah. So he struggles with many things, and we spoke about, his speaking ability. I struggle with stuttering, and he's talked about his stuttering.
Sure.
But even that slowed down. He makes mistakes and messes up names. He called the Ukraine president
Putin. Yeah, that was bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So things weren't going good for him. They were pushing him out in front of people, and the only time he was doing well is when he had a teleprompter.
Sure.
Even with good, or not good, but the left-wing media, he was struggling. Lie, hold on.
There's no way to hide it.
No.
I mean, if you're still going to be out in public, there was no way to hide it.
No.
And that's the thing. So you think he should finish out his term, or here's someone talking that he's not good enough to campaign, well enough that he shouldn't be doing the job? Or?
He was elected. He was elected.
Yeah.
I don't, unless Harris goes, or unless his cabinet goes in front and, what is it, the 25th Amendment?
Something like that, yeah.
And says that the vice president should take over. I don't see it now.
I don't either. But you see some of the Republicans calling for that.
Yeah.
And I don't see it. And he's had most of his advisors, the people who work with him and for him, are the same people he started out with. And so I think they know pretty well how to handle anything that comes up in the next 6 months. And so I guess I'm not worried about him. President Wilson, his wife ran the country while he was sick, and so
he did.
She wouldn't let anybody in to see him. He said to do this, so it's been done before. But I don't think there's any reason to push that. So.
I got a text from a friend Sunday morning, and he hit it right on the head. He said, our president has become like a Division I college football coach. The boosters are taking away the money.
Sure.
And the people that donated the millions and the millions of dollars were taking away the money from them.
Sure. Yeah.
As soon as he recommended Harris, and that's the next subject we need to talk about. But as soon as he recommended Harris, many people, started throwing money toward the campaign again.
Yeah, lots of money.
Does Kamala Harris deserve to be the candidate for the Democrats for President of the United States?
Well, she's vice president, and usually you take the vice president's job with the idea that you'd like to move up sometime. And so it's not a surprise to me that she wants to be president. And
But does she deserve it?
well,
I mean,
what's to deserve if you have the delegates? You know, if you had to deserve it, then a lot of them never made it.
But they are, and I will argue what I know is coming. If Harris wins the candidacy, there will be all sorts of arguments. If Harris wins the presidency, there will be all sorts of arguments about, well, she didn't campaign for the presidency. The people didn't vote for Harris; they voted for Biden.
Yeah,
in the primaries and the like.
Well, the people never vote for the vice president. You know, it's the president, and then the vice president's name is in smaller letters below it when they're campaigning.
Well, that's the argument.
And no one elects that. The candidate says, "I want so and so to be vice president with me," and that's who gets it. You know, there's not an election like there used to be for vice president.
But see, and here we are, 103 days away from the election, and the people didn't choose Harris for president. Well, the Democrats didn't choose Harris as president.
Well, the Democrats have elected delegates and to speak for them, and the delegates, there's a number of them. I get enough, is what I've heard, enough delegates that said we're with her, and so that's the democratic process. That's just the way it's going to go.
And I would agree with you. That's the way it's going to go. I'm just saying, if Harris wins, there's going to be some bad blood about that.
There's always going to be bad blood about everything, and you know that it's going to be a contentious election, and no matter who wins, the other side is going to have a lot to talk about why they lost. One side never admits that they lose. Even when you have overwhelming evidence, they won't admit it. And if they should lose again, well, then who knows what's going to happen with those people. If Harris wins, I think that they will follow the Constitution and swear in, and that'll be it. I don't think there'll be, but I do think that there might be a lot of problems from the Republican side about contesting the election, whether they have any evidence or not, because that's their history right now. So
beyond the curtain, we are broadcasting the 24th of July, and President Biden is going to go on television tonight and talk to the nation. And they have been re-supporting the barricades around the White House today. What reason would they do that, Dale?
Well, that's an ominous sign, but I think the shooter from a couple of weeks ago, the number of people that want to cause a disturbance to take the message away, let the message be outside in the riot or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. But I think they're just being extra cautious. I had not heard about that, but I think they're probably just being extra cautious. But
I hope that's it, Dale.
I think if I was a radical or whatever, I don't think now is a good time to be challenging the Secret Service, because they've got their backup, I'm sure. And now would not be a good time to go messing with those guys.
Well, and that brings us to our third subject, the assassination attempt of Donald Trump and Secret Service protection of him, etc. Is it a where were you when? Is it something that will that the young people like you when you were in what? 6th grade? For Kennedy?
10th grade.
You were a sophomore, so will it be like that for sophomores or 16-year-olds?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. And that kid was on a suicide mission. As far as I know, he had no escape plan, and he had to know that they were, on all these outdoor venue things, they have snipers all over the place watching. And so he had to know he wasn't going to leave that rooftop alive. And for him to get up there, to get in the grounds and have a rifle with him and crawl up on the building, and nobody, people seem to have seen him, but nobody thought to go upstairs and see what was going on. It's really kind of startling. So I don't know about that, but I think it was Kennedy, but it could have been another president. But they said if they want to get you, they'll get you. I don't know how much Secret Service you have or whatever. If a person is dedicated to getting you and don't care about their own life, then they can get at you.
So Cheadle, the head of the Secret Service, resigned on the 23rd of July, which would have been this past Tuesday. Should she have?
Well, when you're in charge, you're responsible. Whether it goes good or goes bad, if it goes bad especially, you're responsible. You have to take the hit. And it's just like in a baseball team. They're going to fire 25 players when they can fire one manager. And instead of looking, the congressional committee could have said, okay, what's the protocol? How do you set this up? What do you do? And did you follow the protocol? And if they followed the protocol like they're supposed to, then there would have been no reason. And but there's a lot of things she didn't answer, which didn't help her. So she didn't have all the facts, or else she refused to answer for some reason or another. And so probably she had to take a hit for the team.
Well, it is. And you got to figure the only reason she would not answer is for safety reasons for Biden, for Harris, for Trump, for Vance now.
What I saw when I saw the rebroadcast after the shot and Trump went down and those Secret Service guys were all over him, and when they got him up, you could see the guy making himself wide to protect him. And so I thought they did everything they could to protect him. And so the team that was with him, I thought did a fantastic job. Looked to me like they did exactly what they were supposed to, and they got him out of there. It's whether or not somebody dropped the ball a half hour before then and didn't say, hold him back a little bit, there's something strange going on. But nobody seemed to get that word, and they at first came out and said that was the local police's area where that building was, and I haven't heard if that was the case or not, but you would think that you go farther out, because a 148-yard shot with a high-powered rifle is not a very difficult shot.
It's basically here to Saber's first building over there at Spino Rose Lumber.
Yeah. See, that's not a very difficult shot.
No.
But if the kid had some military training or whatever, but just to be a kid that had his father's rifle and had been shooting at a rifle range.
It was AR-15.
Yeah, and they were talking today about how to get 8 shots off. Well, that's like that, 8 shots out of AR-15. It's just if it was full automatic.
It was 8 shots. I hadn't heard that.
They picked up 8 cartridge casings, and so but if it's full automatic, that's just a zip. So
well, let's go a little farther with this, Dale. He had done surveillance. He had flown the day before. He had flown a drone over.
Yeah, I just heard that tonight.
Yeah. The day before.
Yeah, and I always thought they kind of checked those places over, then they kind of staked them out to make sure nothing changed between when they were looking and when it actually happened. And so, I don't know.
It's incredibly hard, their job.
Yeah,
there's no doubt that they would. That's not easy.
Yeah.
But like you say, 150 yards away, and then to make matters worse, there were people on the ground pointing at the young man, saying he's up there.
Yeah.
A police officer went up, saw him, had both hands on the roof, but he couldn't draw his gun because he
was hanging over.
He was hanging on.
Yeah.
But then it goes back to your point, Dale, of why did they allow the former president to go out on stage when they knew it was there?
If they had gotten the word.
Yeah.
That this was happening, because you would think that any little thing that was out of the ordinary would have aroused their suspicions and would have made them say, we need to wait a few minutes just to make sure. And it's better to err on the side of caution. Of course, it's been a long time too since someone got shot.
40 years.
Yeah, and see, it's hard to maintain 40 years of vigilance. Or again, I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm just saying that that's a long time between shootings, and to me, you got to give them credit for that. And it's not surprising. I mean, Mr. Trump talks big, and he's not polite to people, and you can see where someone out of the millions of people in this country would decide that they were going to get him. But this kid they really have no data on him as far, no social media stuff. There's no letter saying this is why I'm doing this, and so we'll never know exactly what he was up to. I don't think.
No, they were explaining his family today. Both his parents were well educated. I think both of his parents are disabled.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think so.
Okay.
And they are. He went the day before and bought a box of ammo for the automatic weapon, or the semi-automatic weapon. I don't believe. Blake, maybe you can help me. Is an AR-15 called a or an automatic weapon?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. There's supposed to be seconds in between it, but
Semi-automatic means you have to pull the trigger for each shot.
Yeah.
Full automatic, you pull the trigger back and it just keeps.
Okay.
And like an M16, there's a selector switch. You can go semi, or you can go to full on the same weapon.
Okay.
Now, I don't know AR-15s from Beans, and so I don't know if they have anything like that or not. But I guess it has to be said too. We live in a country where there's millions of guns, and all it takes is one guy. And so I guess I wouldn't be surprised if anybody got shot at, because that's just the country we live in.
Like you say, there's at least one gun for every person in our country.
Yeah,
and it's growing. Was Trump wrong for talking about it? You go back to Gerald Ford when Squeaky Fromm shot at him. Squeaky Fromm was a Charles Manson follower. He never talked about it.
Yeah.
And former President Trump has talked about it.
Yeah.
There's so many AI stuff has so many things out there that just frightens me how they can change stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you can't believe what you see. You can't believe what you hear.
That's right.
Because they can make it look and say anything they want to, and it is scary what people are seeing and what they're believing that don't even have a shadow of a chance of being true. But they saw it, and so that's all they need. And
yeah.
So I don't know what the answers are, Jim, but it's a scary time to live in this country, and we just have to ride it out. I guess I don't think it's going to change.
So as of Trump has never won the general election.
No, his population. I mean, the popular.
The popular vote.
Yeah.
Will he win the general election this time, Dale?
I don't think he has a chance of winning the popular vote, but he might win. I think he's set up to win the Electoral College. He's after those states that have votes, and so I think I doubt he would win the popular vote. I just can't see it where he wins, what counties he wins, and this sort of thing. But it's possible. Yeah, he doesn't need the popular vote. He needs the Electoral College, and they have that all lined up, and that's what they'll. They have these. Well, actually, they talk about the swing states, and so they know pretty much what 20 states are going to go this way, 20 states are going to go this way. You'll have this number, you'll have this number. It's these 10 states here.
Right.
That's where you have to concentrate, and you have to win X number of those to be president. And it doesn't matter what you do in the others, you're going to have that vote anyway. That's locked in. And so what you need is in all these states is the people that don't vote, or the people that are independent, or the people that are first-time voters. They need to rally behind Harris if they don't want Trump to be president.
Well, I heard an argument today that talked about since 2016, 21 million people over the age of 61 have died.
Okay.
And there are double that under the age of 31 now that could vote.
Oh, okay.
So about 42 million people.
Yeah.
I think it's like 40 million people.
So that's a big chunk of people.
Yeah.
That could change things a lot, one way or the other.
And the argument is that those people will vote for Harris.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, for Harris.
Well, all at once Trump is the old man on the ticket in the election, and he mumbles and stumbles sometimes and twists things around, and so every one of those is going to be magnified. And of course Harris has some trouble talking sometimes too, where she has trouble, and so I heard somebody say that she's not likable, and I don't know where that comes from, but I don't know her, but
She doesn't give a good speech.
Yeah.
That's a problem for her.
So, so I don't know. Maybe she'll get some help with that, or Ted Sorensen will come and rescue her, or something.
Who's her vice president?
I don't have no. But it sounds like what the press is saying is it's going to be one of the governors from those swings, like Pennsylvania or whatever, that she really needs. And so that's what I would not be surprised if it was somebody like that. A governor that's popular in his own state, and he's from a state that she needs to win. So, but I don't know. Maybe you look at vice president selections, you go, now that didn't make any sense, But like Palin, almost zero experience in anything,
right.
And oh geez, there was art. At one time, the senator from Missouri was going to be vice president. They found out he had some counseling or whatever in his past.
Yeah.
That was enough to disqualify him. Gary Hart had a girlfriend on the boat an afternoon or so. That was enough to disqualify him.
He'd be an angel today, wouldn't he?
Yeah, well, sure. And then, but Trump has 34 felony convictions and more court dates to come, and yet he's still going strong. So.
Well, the civil, and again, we haven't had a chance to talk about it, but the Supreme Court can bail him out, or has bailed him out.
Yeah, and are they bought and paid for, the Supreme Court, you think?
Well, you look at this, and Joe Biden went after Clarence Thomas when he was sworn, or when he was put up as Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas may have an extra grind against Joe Biden.
Sure.
I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
There's no doubt those people don't have to play by the rules that you and I or the legislators or the president have to play by. But I think Clarence Thomas may not like Joe Biden much.
Well, yeah, could very well be. So so much of this we'll never find. I did see the senator that had been given the gold bars and the money and everything. He was found guilty. Menendez, yes. And I think he's going to resign from the Senate. Now, he was going to fight that, but
August 20th.
I saw that he was going to resign. So he tried to. My wife did it. I didn't do it. My wife did it. I wonder how that will play at Thanksgiving time. So.
Yeah. Well, his wife.
He's not in prison there. He won't. Yeah. So.
His wife is struggling with cancer right now, and she's going to be tried when she has run the gamut, through her treatment and stuff.
Yeah. So it's an interesting political world.
It's a unique time. Times. They've changed. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Brown was very interested in politics. I'd enjoy talking to him about it.
Yeah. The biggest thing I miss about college is when you'd get 4 or 5 guys sitting there for 3-4 hours in the middle of the night talking about stuff like this, and using what they learned in psychology class or philosophy class and trying to come up with things. That was a lot of fun and very interesting. And after you get out of college, you don't have time to do that kind of stuff anymore.
You're right.
And so I did enjoy that in school very much. And it wasn't arguing, but it was discussing at the top of your voice different things. And it was. But that's the one thing I do miss about college. Well, maybe more than one. But
right.
Yes. Okay.
I see before we go on, your friend and mine, Howard Beyer and Monica, are part of the garden walk
this
year.
Yeah. They had one of the yard of the year, or not of the year, but I know they had, for a month they had the sign in there. They were chosen, and then if you listen to Howard, you would think that somebody put a gun to his head to make him do this. But I'm sure he was very pleased that his hard work is being noticed, and right away, well, geez, the blossoms are going to be past their peak, when they're having this, and so, but no, he and Monica just have a wonderful, and they work at it. I mean, they work at it, and they have a wonderful lawn, a lot of flowers and different plants, and he's got a fountain in the back that he built himself, and the water bubble. It looks like you're in Colorado, a little piece of up in the mountains with the water going, and so they have the flagstones, but very fancy patio deck and walkway, and everything is just really nice. So well, it's too late. They won't, but I can't advertise for him. But I plan on going over and seeing.
Oh, good, good.
And I guess Danny and Becky Alberts are in the garden club, and they're going to be the hosts at Byers.
Oh,
And so,
they
yeah.
are.
And so if you know that, they're, I knew you, Danny, or
Yeah.
great guy, and his wife is very, very nice, and so they're going to be there also. So there'll be more people to talk to. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Cool. Well, and I see also the Sabres are also another
Yeah.
garden here in town. And
Yeah.
the other three are out, but are in Independence,
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah. We looked at that. Well, if you go to Byers, go to Sabres, you got to hustle. If it's only a 2-hour window in the whole thing to get to Independence and see all three of those.
Yeah.
So that may not happen, maybe, but
There's a unique thing coming up September 14th and 15th in Iowa. It's called the barn viewing, I believe.
Okay,
if you
yeah.
go online, have you seen that or
I've
not?
read about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
where you can go see old barns.
Yeah, there's 91 of them.
Yeah.
And obviously you're not going to see. And I've been going to go online. Maybe we could get our producer Blake to. Could you go to the barn viewing and see if there's anybody in our area that has a barn that is being showed on the barn viewing September 14th and 15th for our listeners. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We want to talk real quick about the sponsors of our show: Reyes Concrete of Littleton, the Littleton Lounge, the Third LLC, Littleton Chatham Historical Society, Laces, Joe and Judy Olson, the Independence Bulletin Journal, and Derek's Repair LLC. Also, the man that buys a watermelon for Watermelon Day, Keith Bickert.
Our hero.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dale, what do you have for Jesup?
Oh, yeah. Some things here. I go to lunch in the park on August the 1st, will be the second to the last, and they're having walking tacos, fresh fruit, and cookies.
That's
Next Thursday.
Next
a week from this Thursday, yeah. And it's at Troop 21 is doing that. And then August 8th is the last one, and that's mac and pork. And they have that at Farmer's Day, the macaroni and cheese with pulled pork mixed in it. You ever had that?
I ate so much macaroni and cheese when I was a kid. I hate macaroni and cheese now.
Okay. Well, it was really good. So, but they're having mac and pork, fresh vegetables, and Oreo fluff. That must be that stuff you see in dessert bars sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. And also they're having the youth talent show that day.
Yes, it is.
August the 8th from 11 to 12:30. So, August the 3rd, Tim Kemmerer is going to be at the Jesup Farmers Market from 9 to 12.
He is our first artist in residence, and Tim will be on also that following. So that following Wednesday, he's going to be on the podcast with us.
Have you shown him the house yet on the 41 acres to see if he's interested? Or
I haven't. We were supposed to go to the art co-op up in Elkader today, and he had an emergency at his house. So.
Yeah. You telling me the price of that, I remember the first time you talked to me about doing this podcast or whatever, and about the Steve Brown Arts Center, you told me, you said, well, all I need is $1 million and we can make this happen. And I said, oh, well, how much you have now? Well, nothing. Okay, well, we got a ways to go, don't we? So. Co-work 591, July 29, the Dragon Express food truck will be here from 11 to 2. And on July 31st, Fat Roy's Mexican will be here from 11 to 4.
I haven't eaten Fat Willie's yet.
And those Fat Roy's.
Oh, Fat Roy.
If you wait for Fat Willie, you'll be here a long time.
I could.
Yeah, you'll get awful hungry. So. Fat Willie, that is like Bill Clinton when he had weight problem. Okay. Co-work 591 also on August the 2nd is having a scavenger hunt. And are these posters around town? They're very colorful, but...
they've been all over the World Wide Web.
Okay. Friday, August the 2nd from 6:30 to 8:30. It's a timed event, and you have 4-person teams, cost $20 to enter, and you find items around town and solve riddles and it says, don't miss out, sign up today. And you could probably come in here and do it, or you could email Kelly at coworks591.com. And so that sounded like, did you ever go to scavenger hunt when you were a kid?
I did.
Yeah, we had one when I was in junior high school. You know, it's a boy-girl thing out in the night, running around Hazleton, and a bunch of us were down at the little creek trying to get frogs' eggs, because frogs' eggs were out. So we spent most of our time instead of chasing the girls, trying to get some frogs' eggs, and it was dark. So, but all right, that's another story. The Otter Creek Animal Shelter's 6th anniversary. I used to go pheasant hunting where that place is at. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Sunday, August 25th, the Otter Creek Animal Shelter at 400 North Main Street in Hazleton from 2 to 4. The Steve Brown Arts Center will feature vocal performances by Allison Bovey and Allison Brown. And we're going tomorrow night to see the girls in the play they're doing, Legally Blonde. So. The artwork of Barb Lake will be on display. The Otter Creek Animal Shelter will offer a make-your-own Sunday bar for a free will donation. Of course, adorable animals available for adoption. So that's on August the 25th over in Hazleton. So
you're going tomorrow night or Friday night or Saturday
Thursday night?
Thursday night.
Yeah.
So it's on Thursday night, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got to go to a grant ceremony tomorrow night.
Okay.
I was on a committee for that.
Okay. Library news. Some of this. Do you know what the August spice is going to be?
Paprika.
Okay. You're just guessing.
Yes, I am.
I don't know either. So, okay. The Adventure Pass program with the library, it can get you into area attractions for free. Through the Adventure Pass program, Jesup Library cardholders who are 18 years and older can borrow passes to the Blank Park Zoo, the Grout Museum District, and the Quad Cities Fun Bundle. And that's the Putnam Museum, the Botanical Center, and Naibi Zoo. So visit the library's website, jessup.lib.ia.us. The Exercise with Friends at 8 in the morning on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is still going on. Low-impact video-led workouts, and they try to do several different workouts. Arts and Scraps. You get your creative juices flowing every Friday in July. You're welcome to use the Jesup Library Community Room from 9 to 12 to create your own crafty masterpiece. And they will provide a variety of arts and crafts. And ages 10 and under must be accompanied by an adult. And on the lower fold, still read to Phoebe. Phoebe is a special therapy dog that many children will know from Jesup Elementary School and Mrs. Nolan's classroom. Phoebe is visiting the Jesup Public Library on Thursdays in July from 11:30 to 1. To listen to friends read to her, sign up for the 20-minute time slot to read your favorite books to Phoebe. And I was in the little Old Wine Cafe near City Park on Tuesday, and a man was in there, and he very easily could have used a walker to support, but he had a Great Dane, huge, and it was a service dog, had the vest on and everything, but to walk from the door to where he was going to sit, he actually leaned heavily on this dog, and the dog walked him over there, and he sat down, and the dog laid on the floor, and the man and his wife ate their breakfast, and then he was physically putting a lot of weight on that dog.
Okay.
So it was a huge dog.
Right.
But when you're just there and always you look at it, there's a giant dog walking by you at a restaurant. It gets you a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I also have some Farmers Day news for 2025. Dates will be June 19, 20, and 21, same as this year.
Okay. Oh, same as this year?
Same as this year, yeah. And we'll have the same carnival as this year, where there's not enough weekends for our other carnival. And what he has very honestly said to us is that we're too small for his carnival. And he's able to come because he has that week off, and he'd rather come to Jesup than sit in a parking lot doing nothing.
Right.
But when the weekends fill up, when they start at a bad time, then he's not able to come to Jesup, and that's going to be next year too. So we have talked to the man that was here this year, and he's had a few things he was unhappy about, but he's going to come back. He's going to bring more. He had more rides here, but he didn't have the time to set them up. So he said, I need more days where these streets are blocked, because help is the big thing, having enough people to work.
Right.
But he needs more time. He's going to be like a double Ferris wheel, which I think is a big deal.
Yes.
Those are pretty neat. And one thing that is different is that I think it was the Evans ride, but they told Alan that their insurance costs are $20,000 a month, and I imagine that's liability insurance and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And so they are working on a plan to charge, if they're coming to Jesup for 4 days, then Jesup, they would what you're trying to do is get the people who are contracting the carnival to pay that $20,000, the 4 of them or the 5 of them or whatever.
Right.
But he said he doesn't know how that's going to work, but he's trying. Because he said it's just, the costs are just going out of sight. And I didn't realize this, but he said that the carnival workers are under contract, and you have to pay the prevailing wage in the area that you're in. So he said, like John Deere, if they make $20-some an hour or whatever, then that's what he has to pay his workers.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know who makes the contract, but that's what he said the contract was. So anyway, so things are changing big time in that carnival world, and so I don't know what the future holds, but this guy that's coming here just does 15 dates a year now. He doesn't go like from March to October.
Yeah.
Because some of them start in Texas and just work their way north,
Right.
So we had a band called Detour on Saturday night at the Beer Garden that people seem to like, so we've already signed them up for Friday night. And you ever heard of the Dead Presidents Band?
Yes.
Okay, well, they're going to come on Saturday night, and so I guess they have quite a following.
Very popular in our area. Yeah.
And I thought this was interesting. There's a Pork Chop Review was on America's Got Talent, and it's sort of like if you remember these old dog shows where the dog would roll the barrel and jump over and go under and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Only they do it with pigs. We were looking at them, so maybe they would like to come, and so we got an email back from them today. And it said that we are presently negotiating with a very large theme park. So those dates are open now, but we're negotiating for a very large theme park. So if they get that gig, they'll just go there and stay. But he also said that we charge $10,000 a week for 3 30-minute shows a day. I said, well, I don't think they're coming in.
Right.
That was it. So that's kind of what I have for Jesup News right now.
It's a way to say no to charge that. Very easy for them. To charge that amount.
Yeah.
Dale, is there a theme yet for Farmers Day?
No, somebody asked me that today. I said, no, that's the hardest part is thinking of a theme.
Yes.
We just had a meeting last night and talked about the dates. But no, we don't have a. You have suggestions, or if anybody has a suggestion,
I do, but I'm going to leave it off air. Off air yet.
Okay. You don't get blamed for it.
Now. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're here at Cowork 591 Studios. I'm with producer Blake Tempus. Who did you find? Are there any barns in our area, Blake?
There's one in Stanley.
One in Stanley. Who owns that? Does it tell? The one in Stanley. That's the closest one of the 91.
Michael.
Michaels? You ever been in a round barn?
Yes.
Yeah, they have several of those out. West of Hazleton, they used to be in. We used to get in those. We shouldn't have been in there. I mean, it's very interesting. And older barns, these friends I had, they had an old barn, and you go in, and it was a huge barn, but in the bottom to the right, as you went through the wide doors, they had stalls for the horses when they used to work with horses, and grain bins and all this sort of thing. And then stanchions where they can milk cows on this side. And then the hay mow, of course, was upstairs just full of hay and straw and that sort of thing. And just smelled great. Silage. The silo was right outside, and you smell that fermenting silage, and that was always good. And so just wonderful smells, and I just loved it. We used to play for hours in barn, make tunnels with the hay bales and jump and swing on the rope and all those things you read about the kids did 50 years ago, or 60 years ago, 70 years ago. I love old barns.
I love old barns too. When I first came to Jesup, the first few years I came to Jesup, a number of the basketball players would go out to a barn in the Amish area and play basketball on Wednesday night.
Oh, is that right?
With the Amish.
Oh, okay.
In a call it the ABL, the Amish Basketball League. But they had a good time. As a matter of fact, I spoke with some of the Amish guys that remembered that would talk about that.
Yeah.
If you drive through the Hazleton settlement out there, you'll see there's a lot of baskets out there.
Yeah.
The next thing I want to talk about, Dale, is Mike Leach, the Pirate. Do you remember Mike Leach? So, would have been 2 winters ago. 2 falls ago, would have been November 1st. The neighbor was a big fan of Mike Leach.
Okay.
And Mike Leach was the college football coach at Mississippi State. And he started, though, in Iowa at Mount Pleasant.
Okay.
with a guy by the name of Art Mummy, and they made the air raid offense. They came up with an offense.
This is football. Right?
Football.
Okay.
They came up with an offense because they're always playing bigger schools that would run over you, and so they would travel the back roads of Iowa recruiting guys and draw passing plays and run the spread offense. And Leach's teams would get 90 offensive plays a game, and most other teams would get 70. So it was a way for him to play offense more. 2 falls ago, Mississippi State it was his second year at Mississippi State. Leach had been with Art Mummy at Kentucky, and then he got a job as a head coach at Texas Tech down in Lubbock, and he won 11 games down there, including one of the greatest football games I've ever seen. I sat and watched with 2 of my friends as they beat Texas in the last second. And then he went to Washington State and won Coach of the Year there. And then he finally got in the SEC at Mississippi State. And Leach was, you get a chance, Dale, go home and go on YouTube and type in Mike Leach. It's just
Leach?
Leach. Leach never played college football. He was a lawyer. That's the truth. And the neighbor and I were going to go down. We're going to go down to Mississippi and watch the Egg Bowl. Watch Mississippi versus Mississippi State.
In the Egg Bowl?
In the Egg Bowl.
Okay.
And,
I missed that one. So.
Yeah, and Mississippi State was having quite a year. And Leach had multiple 6 out of 9 years had the best quarterback in the nation. Danged if the first week of November they didn't lose to Kentucky, and Kentucky wasn't having a good year. Mm-hmm. And one of the Stoops boys is the head coach at Kentucky, and he's a defensive man, and he beat Leach twice when Leach was alive. But so we decided not to go to Mississippi to the Egg Bowl because it wasn't a. We were disappointed because Mississippi State wasn't in the running for a chance to win their side of the conference. But Mississippi was having a great season. Well, I listened to it on the radio, and Mississippi State beat Mississippi. Leach beat them, and we regret that because 6 weeks later, Mike Leach died of COVID.
Oh.
And we never had a chance to see Mike Leach coach. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a system man of college football.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest regrets, we were ready to get in the car and drive to Mississippi.
Yeah.
And watch it. When they lost Kentucky, we were out of it. But the reason I talk about this and the Pirate, Leach was known as an outlaw. So he loved pirates. He spent one day a year. He would ask people if he could just spend a day with them, like he spent a day with Trump. He would go on unique. He went to Mount Kilimanjaro and climbed Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
He was very famous down in the Florida Keys. Just brilliant man, funny man. Had opinions about everything, opinions that no other college football coach would talk about. He would talk about.
Yeah.
Dry sense of humor, but funny. He died early. He died at 61 of COVID.
Yeah.
And he died one victory short of being eligible to ever get into the College Football Hall of Fame. There's a big push right now because Leach had, much like Hayden Fry, had multiple coaches that became head coaches throughout college football. Mm-hmm. Had a huge, there are high schools and colleges throughout the nation that run his offense. So 2 things he did over 50 years. He changed football from a running game back when you were that sophomore, and you had Woody Hayes and those guys that were running over each other.
Vince Lombardi.
Yeah. Leach's dream was to throw every down in a game one time. Yeah. It never happened, but he did out of 90 possessions. He did throw 80 out of 91 game.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And still win because they knew what you were going to do. Yeah.
Yep. He would spread his guys out. Just amazing. But, as I said, he had multiple head coaches throughout college. Then he also changed football with his air raid offense. And so there's a big push because you have to have a 60% winning percentage to get into the College Football Hall of Fame, and he's one win short of that.
Yeah. So
it's sort of like that kid in class that has a 59.7.
Give it to him. I always did.
Yeah. I found a way for that student to do a little extra work and get it.
You can always find a point somewhere.
Yeah. If he earned it. So I really believe Mike Leach belongs in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Dale, you said you want to talk about a billionaire.
Billionaires, yeah. It's kind of interesting because I was on assignment last week, and so when I got home, I had like newspapers waiting for me to read, and so there's a lot of different things in there. But one article that caught my eye is that 800 people hold more wealth in this country than half of the total population. And that since the Trump tax cut that took place, these billionaires have been more than doubling their money. And so, who's the number one billionaire in the country?
Is it Elon Musk?
Yeah, it's Musk.
It depends on week to week, but it's Elon Musk.
But Musk, well, of the top 10, Elon Musk went from $20 billion in 2017 to $258 billion today. Jeff Bezos from Amazon went from $83 billion to $216 billion.
How far is he behind Elon?
216 to 58, 48, 38, 42 million.
42 million.
Yeah, something like that.
Interesting.
Zuckerberg of Facebook, he went from 72 billion to 187 billion. And Larry Ellison from Oracle, I don't know that, went from 61 billion to 177 billion. Larry Page, who does Google, went from 46 billion to 157 billion. And
147 billion.
46 billion to 157 billion.
I just can't imagine that.
In something. The Sergey Brin of Google went from 45 billion to 151 billion, so they're all tripling, looks like to me. Bill Gates, 90 billion to 136 billion. I know, divorce probably cost him. Yeah. Steve Ballmer from Microsoft went from 35 billion to 135 billion. That's from 2017 to 2024. And Warren Buffett from Berkshire Hathaway. I have friends that live in Omaha, and they're about my age, and they could have invested in that company, 50 years ago, and they didn't do it. Anyway, he went from 81 billion to 131 billion. And I don't think he's trying as hard as he used to. And this Jensen Huang, do you know Huang? And the company they give his capital is NVIDIA. I don't know. I was going to look that up. He went from 5 billion to 118 billion, and he's still in 10th place. So, but what they did is, it says Trump enacted sweeping tax cuts in 2017. Bill is the largest tax overhaul in 3 decades. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act lowered taxes across the board, and some of the cuts delivered big savings to the wealthy. The top individual tax rate for the highest earners dropped from 39.6% to 37%. The wealth, and you figure a couple of percentage points of billions and billions of dollars, that's a lot of money. The wealth threshold for paying estate taxes doubled from 5.5 million to 11.2 million. So now you can inherit $10 billion or $10 million worth of property from your rich relatives and not have to pay estate taxes. The corporate tax rate dropped from 35 to 21, and that's, I think, what made a lot of people a lot of money.
Yeah. A
new deduction reduced taxes by up to 20% for pass-through businesses such as partnerships and sole proprietorships. And selling stock, there's 20%, far below the 37% tax rate on personal income. And the capital gains tax has been comparatively low for decades. And so the point of this whole thing was Earlier this month, the Biden administration announced it had recovered $1 billion in past due taxes from high-wealth Americans, which is nothing, right? But they had recovered $1 billion. The effort focused on taxpayers with more than $1 million in income and more than $250,000 in documented tax debt. Economists across the ideological spectrum have faulted both parties for their aversion to raising taxes. The nation faces a $1.27 trillion budget deficit in fiscal year 2024, a yawning gap between spending and revenues. There's this kind of myth out there that there's disagreement between the parties over tax increases. Michael Strain, Director of Economic Policy Studies at the American Enterprise Institute, said in a May interview. The reality is that one party, the Republicans, don't want to raise taxes on anybody, and the other party, the Democrats, don't want to raise taxes on 98% of the people. And that's just a terrible situation to be in. And what he's saying is, in your own budget, if you're spending more than you're taking in, that's a no-win situation. It just gets worse over time, and that's what our country's doing. And if you're $1.27 trillion budget deficit, that's just for this year. That doesn't counting the accumulated trillions of dollars we're already in debt. And so, you try to put your handle on $1 trillion or even $1 billion, and then how many billion does it take to make $1 trillion? Does it take $1 million billion to make $1 trillion?
Let me give you what $1 billion is. I used to give this to my students. $1 billion in Jesup would mean everybody in Jesup in the zip code of Jesup would get approximately $150,000. So this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We are coming off the Littleton Free Watermelon Day. We want to thank multiple people. There's many people, and I know I will forget people, but I want to thank Ron Reyes for allowing us to have a stage at his business. I want to thank Gail at the Littleton Lounge for allowing us to park there and allowing Thomas James to put their dumpster there. I want to thank Tony Bankston for including Littleton Chatham Historical Society in that, and Terry Bankston for helping set up the tents and stages. I want to thank Chris of Even Parties for allowing us to use Even Events and Rentals. Forgive me, Even Events and Rentals for allowing us to have those stages and those canopies. There are so many people that are great helps at the Littleton Free Watermelon Day. Jacobs and Fabrication Repair LLC is a great donor. Boyd's Food Truck, Mickey D's Pizza and Lobs are donors. Dream Chaser Acre is a great sponsor. Bob Leach and the Farm Bureau Financial Services, M&M Bakery in Lawrence, Kansas, and Innovative Wealth Management and Zach Knutson. Thank you all for helping us at Littleton Free Watermelon Day this year. So Dale, did you have anything else about billionaires for us?
They got all the money.
All right.
I don't know what they're doing with it. Having a huge amount of money is a tremendous chance to do a huge amount of good. And I just hope that they're doing good. It sounds to me like from these numbers they're just accumulating, or that everything they have is worth more, but I don't know. But I can't see 800 people having more money than half the rest of the people in the country and not doing something with it to make life better for everybody. Have you seen these shows like Live a Generous Life? You seen these shirts? I really believe in that. I think if you live a generous life, you'd be a happy person. And just think how generous you could be if you can put $1 million in your lockbox and then have fun giving the rest of it away.
Well, let's talk about this, Dale. As long as you talk about it biblically, it talks about to give 10% to alms, which is 10% charity.
Yeah.
Have
you heard of the Hebrew thing? And I want to say every 49 years, there's a formula they use, but in that year, all debts are canceled, everything's paid off, and you start over again.
Interesting.
There's a word for it and there's a number for it. Take your shirt, then give him your coat as well. There's all kinds of references in the Bible about giving and being generous with your stuff. And so
There is. I've spoke about the greatest salesman in the world. The book.
yeah,
And he talked about giving half of his income to the poor. And he, that was in that book, and that giving alms, that's something we spoke on multiple times on here. Do you give? Is it better to give time or give money?
Well, Morris K. Jesup, he's not the founder of our town, but the town was named after him. And he believed in giving a certain percent of his money away, even as a young man when he first started working and not making very much. And he got his education, a third of his life, or his youngsters, a third of his life he worked, and the last third of his life he gave away his money. And this was a man who hung around with the Rockefellers, J.P. Morgan. He had Rembrandts on the wall in his house. I mean, this is a tremendously wealthy man. And he dedicated a third of his life to giving away money to charitable causes or funding expeditions or scientific things or research or whatever. He preached, even if you're making, $10 a month or whatever, find a way to give some of that to somebody else that needs it. He said that will benefit you in the long run. You'll be a better person. So I think my minister will know bet. One, yes or no?
I bet she would. Yeah.
Okay.
If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. I'm Jim Gillespie, and I'm with co-host Dale Rueber, who's back off of assignment, and he experienced many things on his assignment.
Most I can't talk about, right? You won't let me?
Yeah.
I'm being censored.
And our producer Blake Tempus, he keeps our show on the air. And as always, thank you to Kelly C. Haas, who allows us in here every Wednesday. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. And remember, each day is about little victories.